Hello everyone, welcome back to Planet Coaster and welcome back to the Wicker Man Recreation. In this episode, it's going to be the uphill section of the queue line, a part of the queue line where you've just come out the cattle pen inside that dual turnaround area and you're coming up to the kiosk and you get that magnificent view of the coaster itself. You all know what it is and you can probably see it on screens now. Over the past few episodes of Planet Coaster, you might have noticed that part of the game is cropped out of the video. You know, if you look at the bottom, part of the text is cropped out. I'm not exactly sure why that's happening. I looked into the NVIDIA Shadow Play settings because it has been coming from there. It hasn't been coming from Vegas because it's in the raw files as well. So I looked into the settings of that and I couldn't really see anything wrong. It was still recording with 1080p at 60 FPS with the normal bitrate. So maybe it's the game settings. Looked in the game settings, no, that's alright. So I don't really know what it is. Maybe it might be a bug from one of the new driver updates NVIDIA released recently, but yeah, I don't really know. So off camera I actually did quite some work to the track, most notably the part of the track where you're going into the unbanked turnaround. Before I had that part of the track a lot higher, and now I do realize, I realized, hang on, no, because it goes uphill and then into the unbanked section. So I was kind of thinking, okay, I need to fix that. So I did lower that part where it changes banking and then it goes uphill into the unbanked turn, and then I have also increased the height of the unbanked turn. You might also notice that the fencing of the queue line and the queue line itself is already there. That's mainly because it was boring to watch. I did record it, but unfortunately there just wasn't enough space for it to go in. If I did put that footage in, I think this video would be about 35 minutes long, and I know most of you probably don't really want that. So here you'll see me do the scenery for this part of the queue line. Now this was quite difficult to do because whilst plants and trees have been planted in this area, they haven't properly grown yet since the attraction's only been open for about a year. So yeah, the trees and the plants in that area haven't grown. You'd probably remember from the start of the season, the start of the 2018 season, sorry, in March, you know, they were only just planted, they weren't grown at all, so it was quite tricky to actually decide what to put there because there's nothing grown there yet. So I had to what's the word? There's a word for it. I can't think of it right now. It'll probably come to my head in a minute. But yeah, I basically had to think outside the box, you know, where are the trees planted at. Here you'll see me do these, the posts, and these are actually going to hold the bunting. For those of you who've been on Wicker Man real life, you would know that there's a lot of bunting in the queue line. It's like this ragged bunting basically, and it really does add to the theming, and it just makes it look nicer really. I know it's not supposed to look nice, but it just makes it look nicer because it's a little detail that, you know, most parks would miss out on. So yeah. Now with this bunting, I don't like how Frontier have done the colouring on this bunting piece because it's very bright, and even though I put in one colour, a very dark colour, it still appears really bright on the actual bunting itself. So you probably saw I had to go really dark to actually get that shade of red or orange that I actually wanted. I think here I realised, oh hang on, this bunting is too short. So yeah, just replacing it, making it a bit more straight, yeah. And then of course I am using the 4-meter bunting instead. So yeah, just changing the bunting around here. just to make it a bit more longer, and unfortunately there's not really the right sort of size of bunting in the game. I wanted a really specific size, but unfortunately there's only 2 meter and 4 meter in the game, which does make it quite annoying. I'm not sure if there are any toolkit items on the bunting at the moment, but well, I'll have a look later. But talking about the Filmmakers Toolkit, Frontier, well, I don't think, Frontier didn't officially announce it, but Shantae, who is one of the community managers for Planet Coaster, and I think she does Jurassic World Evolution as well, she's basically community manager at Frontier, let's just say that. On one of the Frontier live streams, she actually said there's going to be an update sometime in March that's going to be fixing a lot of bugs, like the loading time when you first start up the game, and game crashes when you try to shut down the game, because that happens to everyone even if you don't have toolkit items, and also the speed at which the menu loads up, not the game menu, the building menu, like the scenery tab, the building tab, and the Filmmakers Toolkit tab, because for those of you who've downloaded toolkit items, you would know that it takes an absolute age to load up the building and the scenery tab because of all the toolkit items that are in there. Even though I have all the Planet Coaster stuff stored on my SSD, which should be fast, but yeah, not even my SSD can load up the toolkit items quickly, which is quite concerning. But yeah, it's good to see that they are actually listening to the community, and they are now implementing this update that's going to fix a lot of things. So here you'll see me start the footers for this drop into the airtime hill. Now these footers are standard on most GCI coasters, I do believe. Not all of them. I think some GCI coasters, like what's the one, Troy, I think Troy has different footers, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, for the most part almost every new GCI wooden coaster does have these footers. And of course here are the custom supports for this turnaround section, and it's quite interesting really, because in the original plans this unbanked turnaround section wasn't really supposed to have angled supports, but I think it was last minute they installed them. For those of you who see the plans, these angled supports aren't in them, so it did make it difficult to do it, if you get what I mean. But here I was kind of confused, like, hang on, why can't I multi-select these two supports? And I think I eventually realised, oh, they're not in a senior group. So of course I did add them to the senior group, and duplicate them all around. And this is the reason why we need the what's it called, the 3D gizmo, the advanced move tool, to be working perfectly. Because for those of you remember, in the last episode of Wicker Man Recreation, I could barely do the custom supports just because the 3D gizmo was just being so stupid, and eventually Frontier did fix it. But yeah, it just makes it so much easier just to duplicate and drag like group scenery items into another location. It generally does make it so much easier. I still don't know why they even put that horrible advanced move tool in there in the first place, because it truly made it almost impossible to build accurately, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I think I'm just finishing up these supports now, and I think next up is the kiosk. We'll see in a minute. Hang on. So here you'll see me start the Q-line kiosk. Now this was another thing that was quite difficult to do, mainly for a reason it wasn't on the plans that I had in the game. Of course, with every recreation I do, I put the plans on all the billboards, I split the image up, do it accurately in Photoshop and all that. but unfortunately the plans that I had, which are the final plans that were released before Wicker Man opened, unfortunately the Q-Line Kiosk is not on those plans. It was on the original plans, but it wasn't on the final plans, so I kinda had to guess where this Q-Line Kiosk was. I think after I finished this I moved it around a little, because I looked at a lot of aerial images, especially from attraction images, like attraction images go over their plane. I think it's their plane, or they hire it, I'm not sure. They basically go over on towers all through last close season whilst Wicker Man's being constructed. They would go up on their plane and take aerial images, and I think that's when we first saw Big Bob, the Wicker Man structure, for the first time. Actually no, I think it was, when we first saw the Wicker Man structure, when someone illegally flew a drone over the park whilst it was open for their Christmas event. And yeah, guys, don't do that. I'm not going to link that video in the description or anything. I'm not even going to tell you how to find it, because you shouldn't be doing that at all. Even if the park is closed, you still shouldn't be doing that, because if that drone lost signal or just spontaneously ran out of battery or something, it could happen and it falls and someone gets hit on the head and, could actually kill them. So yeah, don't do that, which is why I'm all for drone licenses being introduced in the UK, where you have to have a license to fly a drone, especially after the whole Gatwick thing that happened over Christmas. I don't know if anyone outside the UK knows about that, but I think over the Christmas period just gone, there was some stupid drone stuff happened at Gatwick, and like planes were delayed for about 30 hours or something, and it was horrible. So yeah, don't do that just to get aerial images of rides. Even what was it called, Camelot, people fly their drones over and get aerial images of Nightmare, which is an abandoned Schwarzkopf coaster that's been there for years now, and they never relocated it. I think they wanted to, I don't know, but yeah, I'm not for it. I'm highly against that sort of stuff, so don't do it. But yeah, here is the Q-Line Kiosk, and it was quite difficult to actually do this Q-Line Kiosk. It's not final at all. I think I am going to go in the game, back in the game tomorrow, and edit it a bit, because I missed out the gutter for the rain, because I've only just learned how to do rain gutters in Planet Coaster, and apparently use like a lamppost and those candle pieces, those firework candle pieces. Yeah, I've only just learned how to do that, to be honest. I can't believe that. I've been playing Planet Coaster for years, and I've only just learned how to make rain gutters and drainage systems, basically. But yeah, I am going to go back in the game and do those small details I missed out. Here you'll see me go through the toolkit menu, and you can definitely understand how long it's like. This footage is sped up 4 times, and look at that, it's taking quite a while for the items to load up in the menu. Like, you can see it there. Like, this is sped up 4 times. Oh god, you're not really supposed to see that ride. But yeah, just that kind of gives you an idea of how long it's taking items to load up. And I have quite a number of toolkit items downloaded. I'm not proud of it. I think I like toolkit items too much, unless of course they're unrealistic ones. I only download like the realism ones that will actually help me, because I am a realistic builder. But there are people out there that do like unrealistic builds, and I'm all for it, really. But it's just not really my building style, to be honest. Here, of course, these ladder fences. If you don't know how to make these types of fences, literally just get the ladder pieces in scenery tab and put them together, and it just makes this fence. Really, it's so easy to do. and it does actually make quite a cool looking fence. You will have to sacrifice, if you do plan to do those fences throughout your park, you are going to have to sacrifice your FPS, because you know that's a lot of pieces just for one fence, really. So yeah, so this is basically coming up to the end of the episode now. Well, not exactly, there's still some stuff left to do, of course. Recoloring this fence just to make it blend more. Sorry, no, that doesn't make sense. To make it fit more with the fence around it. But yeah, starting this part now next to the Q-Line kiosk. For those who've been on Wicker Man in real life, you'd know that there's these wicker scenery items next to the Q-Line kiosk. You're gonna see those coming up in just a couple seconds. But yeah, those are basically there. I think they look quite nice, to be honest. Here we go, I'm starting them now. I think I'm just loading up an image of them, because I don't really know the runic symbols of Wicker Man. I remember, you know, when they were releasing teasers for Wicker Man, whilst it was still Secret Weapon 8, I knew all the runic symbols to decode the messages they had in the videos. Oh no, I'm sad. But yeah, I've forgotten most of them now, to be honest. And fun fact about those runic symbols that was made for promoting Secret Weapon 8 was, like, apparently most of them are actually based off of rides. I think there's one that looks like Smiler's logo, there's one that looks like Oblivion's logo as well, and it's those nice little things, really. I mean, either that or they just couldn't be bothered to make up new symbols, I guess. So yeah, so here's the first runic symbol out of the 3. I think it's 3. I mean, from what I remember, it was 3, and from what I saw in the picture I had, it was 3. But yeah, it's these 3 symbols. One that has like an X, it's like an X on a lollipop or something. You know, you've got this one that basically looks like a flame, and then this last one I'm doing, which looks like the weird P they use for the density symbol. I do that in physics and I still don't know what the symbol's called. I just call it the weird P. Yeah, like it starts out as a weird P, but then it has that little thing. So yeah, putting this just around here now, and yeah, that pretty much marks the end of this episode. So yeah, let's go into the real-time footage. Right then, we are out of the time-lapse footage and into the real-time footage here on Wicker Man Recreation. So as you probably saw, and as I did commentate over, we did this area over here, which has the queue line coming out of the cattle pen and up into this straight bit going up the hill, and then leading up to this kiosk. Now, in terms of this kiosk, because it's not actually on the final plans of Wicker Man, which is quite annoying, I can't necessarily exactly pinpoint where it is, but this is basically where it is roughly. But yeah, just it wasn't really on the final plans, so unfortunately I can't do that. Of course, we do have this theming structure here with the runic symbols. I was actually like hesitant on these, you know, how am I going to build these, but then, oh yeah, just use the scarecrow pieces. And behind it we have this fence. As you probably saw in the time-lapse, in terms of these fences, they are just short ladders, all put into one, and we've got these buntings with, once again, these scarecrow pieces, some wooden poles, and of course the bunting out. And this is actually all around the queue line. If you've been on Wicker Man in real life, you would know that, like, there are buntings everywhere. Of course, we got these wooden posts here. In real life, they actually do have like runic symbols and stuff on them, but unfortunately the scaling in Planet Coaster does prevent us from doing that, so unfortunately they are just going to be wooden poles. And well, that's it for the queue line. Let's make our way over to the track where I have been doing some of the footers and the custom supports for this flat unbanked turnaround here and into the airtime hill. So of course with the footers, it is just the standard GCI sort of footers that are used on almost every GCI coaster out there. And of course these custom supports, these weren't as hard to do as the lift hill ones over there, and of course the turnaround ones. I forgot to mention, the ones on a turnaround aren't actually done yet. I still do have to do some parts of these, because you might notice, you know, there's also supports going there, connecting them, and then diagonal ones as well. So yeah, that'll be for the next episode. But yeah, the plan is for the next few episodes is we're gonna make our way down here into this area. For the next episode we'll be doing the queue line around here, and then this backstage part here, and of course the entrance plaza. And then when all of that side of Wicker Man is done, we're gonna move to the station area just over there. So yeah, that is going to be it for Wicker Man Recreation. There should be another episode maybe next week. I'm not entirely sure. Might be Magnificent Adventures next week, but apart from that, I'll see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.